As y'all know, man, I've been reading a bunch of books lately. Reading a bunch of books. And this book, man, this last book I'm reading, it really opened my mind up to a lot of different things, bro. And really, it's all just based around self-trust. And it's like, we hear about self-love, we hear about self-care, we hear about all these things. And there really hasn't been a lot of like pressure, or I mean, like focus on self-trust. And I think it's interesting, bro. Because, so, long story short, um, whenever I go through shifts in life, I like to go through therapy so I can really talk to a professional and unravel things and really just kind of make sure I'm taking care of my mental health, man. Mental health to me is extremely important. So I encourage everybody else to do that too. Like, what does a big shift mean? That could look like I'm moving to a different state, graduating college, like whatever. I started a business, or maybe a business failed, or maybe you felt flunked out of college, or maybe something happened. Right? I recommend going to therapy. The last time I was in therapy, the lady asked me, the therapist asked me, "This, do you trust yourself?" And we had we touched on it briefly, but I really didn't have that many sessions left that I paid for because I was paying out of pocket for this, and because I also think therapy is self investing in yourself, right? And we didn't really get to go too deep on it. So a life experience I came up that taught me a lot and so I'm in the bookstore and I was telling you guys this that I bought a couple books, and one of them is circled around trust. And it's not just self-trust, this is also just like trusting yourself, trusting God, trusting others, and just trusting life, right? So I'm reading through the book. When I tell you this kind of really like opened my mind up to so many different things. So for one, I realized that, hey, I really haven't been trusting myself too much. And a lot of this kind of stems from how we grew up. So like if you grew up in a household where you were constantly kind of like ridiculed, constantly like, verbally abused, like called dumb or stupid or dumbass and stuff like that, you can lose confidence in your ability to make decisions because it seems like you always make mistakes. So you become very like you have to double check shit. Like you can't really like think for yourself, you know? And that's a tough position to be in, bro. So it talks about like, start off talking about where that comes from for us. And I'm like, man, I relate to a lot of that stuff. So now what? So and then it goes into these different layers of it. I didn't realize how much of trust was emotional. A lot of trust is emotional. And the one thing it says, if you want to be able to trust yourself more, because I used to think of it very logical. If I see myself doing what I said I'm gonna do, I'll trust myself more. But it's like I get shit done. I do things. And it's still like, well, why don't I trust myself in these manners? And this is what, and it might look different for everybody, so you gotta get to the root of it for you. But this is what it looks like. I could not trust my raw response because I'm afraid of hurting people. So I'm not comfortable with just speaking from the heart all the time. I have to speak from my mind. And this might be like the masculine, right? Where it's like I gotta be logical. I gotta think about what I want to say and say what I think is best in this situation, right? I want to be strategic in my response. It's going to represent how I feel and what I think, but it's going to be very, very filtered and edited, right? That's what it looks like. And they call this in the book speaking from your head. And I approach so many things like that, speaking from my head instead of speaking from my heart. What does it look like speaking from your heart? Well, when you speak from your heart, you're not afraid of or worried about offending someone. You're not worried about being correct. You're not worried about being factual because when something happens, everybody has their truth. I remember hearing this and I thought that was just like something that girls said, and I'm like, well, man, there's only a truth, and then it's not your truth. But it's like in reality, no, everybody has their own truth. Why? Because so many things are just perspective and opinion. A lot of things aren't fact based. And a lot of things it's just too complex, so you have to be able to give your point of view, and that is based on what influenced you from how you saw things or broke things down, right? What is your truth from where you're standing and your experience and your emotions and your background? And like 10 people can experience a situation and they'll all 10 individually have unique experiences from that situation. So when someone says give your truth, this is how you feel, how you think, how you saw it, how you interpret it, how you understand it. That's your truth. It's not about anybody agreeing with you. It's not about anybody saying that you're right or anything like that. It's about you being able to trust yourself enough to be able to trust how you feel, to trust what you thought, to trust what you seen. And well, how does this double down? Like, right? So it's like when you don't speak up for yourself and you speak with your head and not actually speak from your heart, what happens is you give an unauthentic response to a situation. How you felt, you put it to the side, and you gave a politically correct response, and you did not express your authentic self. So therefore, imagine a kid, and the kid says, and you ask the kid like, "Do you want some mac and cheese?" And the kid's like, "I don't want no mac and cheese. All I've been eating is mac and cheese. I just want some French fries." And then you tell whoever's cooking the food for the kid, um, mac and cheese is okay. I've been having it a lot, but if that's what you're making, or if that's what you want to make, that's cool. And the kid's gonna feel misrepresented. This is not what I said. I said I don't want it. Like, I'd rather you just not even make it at all, and just give me the chicken or whatever you're gonna make with it. Just give me that. Don't give me no sides, right? That's how we do it oftentimes. We know how we feel. We know what we think. We know what we want to say, but we don't say that. We speak from our head. We try to keep peace. We try to be harmonious. So now you are losing credit with yourself because you're misrepresenting yourself, and so you don't trust yourself. You don't trust yourself in those areas. So essentially, and I'm trying to break down like a 300-page book from the chapters. I read 4 chapters into this video, which is I can't do because I would literally have to read through the book and kind of regurgitate to you. But again, the book goes through, it highlights 21 reasons or 21 signs you don't trust yourself. And I mean, bro, I'm looking at this and it's like 15, 16 of them is it resonates with me. So it says, well, how do you start to trust yourself again? How do you start to trust yourself? And it said, one of the first things it says was, stand in your truth. There's going to be times where you say things or do things and it's going to bring ridicule, it's going to bring backlash, it's going to bring critique, etc. And you have to understand that A, you will make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. And B, even when you do make mistakes, or even when you don't make mistakes, there will be people who don't agree with how you did something, how you said something, or whatever. And guess what? You will be okay. That you're able to stand in discomfort, you're able to stand in criticism, you're able to stand in whatever situation, and you will be okay. You do not have to conform because of pressure. Trust yourself, trust your perspective, trust your opinion, trust how you feel, right? And it's not saying that you don't have to, like, that you can't, your feelings won't change at times, or your thoughts or perspective once new information is gathered, and etc. Right? But you don't have to feel bad about what you feel or what you think or whatever. So, like, it's not, don't condemn yourself. The next thing it said is to speak your truth. Sometimes people wait to see if how they feel matches with anybody else. So in a group, you might be like, everybody's saying like, where you guys want to go out to eat? And you're not saying where you want to go because you're waiting to see if people say it first. And then you'll be like, yeah, I want to go there too. That's exactly what I was thinking. And it's like, well, why didn't you say that? Or you didn't think of nothing. You're just automatically waiting to hear everybody else is saying that you're going to just pick from and agree with the majority. You don't have your own opinion. So you're not really giving your truth. If you want to go to Taco Bell, say you want Taco Bell. Maybe people might be like, oh yeah, that's a good pick, right? But standing in your truth, you got to be able to feel confident enough to say what you want, to say what you feel, to say what you think, what you believe. And it doesn't matter if anybody else stands with you. I mean, speaking of truth, yeah. It doesn't matter if anybody agrees with you, right? You got to start doing that so you can trust yourself. Like I said, represent yourself, show up as your authentic self, express yourself, be seen, be heard. When you keep on quieting yourself and you don't allow yourself to be who you are, you lose trust with yourself. It doesn't matter how many days you show up in the gym. It doesn't matter how much money you're able to save. If you're not showing up as your authentic self, everything else is just wearing a mask. So how can you trust yourself when at the foundation of who you are, you're afraid to express? You're afraid to be. The last thing it said is to be transparent. It's hard for you to speak your truth and standing your truth if you're afraid of being transparent. If you're afraid of saying exactly how you feel, if you're afraid of being judged, you're afraid of anybody changing their opinion of you, or whatever the case may be. You have to be able to be transparent, right? How do you feel? I know for a lot of guys it's tough to be transparent. A lot of people it's tough to be transparent because we don't want to expose our innermost emotions. But guess what? People can already see when there's a lack of confidence. They just don't know why. People can already see when you second guess yourself. They just don't know why. So being transparent allows you to stop hiding behind your insecurities, allows you to stop hiding behind fears, allows you to stop hiding behind whatever, and to truly show up as yourself. Because this way, you can probably get some help. This way, people can be there for you and support you and encourage you and actually relate with who you truly are and where you're currently at in life. And you trust yourself, because what's worse than needing help but not asking for help? Do you trust yourself enough to get help when it's needed? Or can you not rely on yourself? And sometimes emotionally, your emotions leave signs. Your emotions are signals. But you ignore those signals. So how can you trust yourself when you can't even be there for yourself? So I'm reading this and I'm like, man, I didn't know how much trust was emotional. And for a lot of us, we've been just hiding our emotions and burying our emotions and just getting rid of them. And it's also preventing you from connecting with people on a deeper level as well, because, like, again, no one knows really what you think. No one knows exactly what you feel. No, like, you know what I mean? And this is what makes people human. It makes people relatable. So I just want to leave that with you guys today, man. Drop down in the comment section what stood out to you if you want me to go deeper on something. But other than that, man, I love you guys. Take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you in the next video.